to another episode of Seed Speaks. My name is Alex Martin, and I am the editor of Seed World magazine, and today I am absolutely happy to be your host. Last week, we got to hear from my coworker, Ashley Robinson, who held a wonderful discussion talking about how grocery shopping impacts agriculture. We're kind of continuing that conversation in a sense today. There's a lot of breeding endeavors that go on in the vegetable realm due to different trends in the eating realm. Last week, we even heard about some dietary trends and things like that. And today's conversation is no different. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit more about breeding and eating the rainbow. We're going to be diving into why eating education has turned to this idea of eating the rainbow and how the vegetable breeding sector is responding. And to help us discuss that a little bit more, I'd like to introduce some of our panelists today. First, I'd like to introduce Laura Ann Diehl, who is Pacific Northwest Research Manager and Plant Breeder for Table Beet at Cicada Seed America. And also, I'd like to introduce Lily Sheridan, who is the Farm to School Coordinator with Cooking for Kids. Laura Ann and Lily, thank you so much for joining me today. I figured we could start this morning with some brief introductions. So Laura Ann, I'll let you go ahead and kick off. And can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your work at Cicada?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a plant breeder first and foremost. I've been with Cicada for nearly 8 years, and I'm located in Washington State. Cicada has a P&W research group located in Washington, near Burlington and Mount Vernon, Washington, and we have two facilities up here for greenhouse work and field work. In addition to being a plant breeder, I'm the research manager for this group, and we breed a number of crops up here, including pumpkin, spinach, baby leaf beet and chard, and beet.
I'm so sorry, Alex, you were on mute, so I didn't hear that.
That is totally my fault, so Lily. Sorry about that. I was just going to say we'd love for you to do a brief introduction of yourself and Cooking with Kids.
Great. For Cooking with Kids, which is a nonprofit located in northern New Mexico, each year we serve over 5,000 students, ages from pre-K through 8th grade. And we provide hands-on food education in their classroom. We work primarily with public schools and provide 5 cooking lessons throughout the year, along with additional tasting lessons and some healthy food promotion events in their school cafeteria. And I'm the Farm to School Coordinator and Community Liaison. So I work to get farmers in the classroom, and I also procure local ingredients to be used in our cooking classes, along with many other things that I do, but that's my primary role.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lily. I think we will also end up having one more guest joining us today, Patty Buskirk, who is managing partner and plant breeder at Seeds by Design. She is having a little bit of technical difficulty, so as soon as she jumps in, we'll let her introduce herself and join our conversation as well. But until then, Lily, I think today it would, oh, here we go. Hey there, Patty. Thanks for joining us today. We were just saying that you were working on joining.
Yes, I'm a older seedsman that has technical difficulties operating all of her newfangled, new age devices.
Oh my goodness, absolutely no worries. You are in perfect timing. So, Patty, we were just going through our introductions. We'll save you for last. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Seeds by Design?
Sure. So Seeds by Design is almost 30 years old, and I've been the managing partner and the breeder for all those years. We've been coined as a boutique seed company. So I'm going to set this down so I don't move around. So we grow everything, I like to say, from artichoke to zucchini. So when Alex asked me to be on this panel discussion, I was totally honored and thought that it would be a wonderful opportunity to discuss all my passions for breeding and the home garden market.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Patty. And with that, I guess let's go ahead and dive into our discussion. So, Lily, I figured today we might need to start our discussion with your perspective today. Can you tell us a little bit more about why eating the rainbow has become such a powerful education tool?
Yeah. So first off, rainbows are just really beautiful and positive and joyful. So I think for both kids and adults, eat the rainbow creates a really positive association with fruits and vegetables, which are the foods that add the most color to our plates, and they're also the foods which are the most lacking in the American diet. So kids love rainbows, and saying eat the rainbow also gives kids an easy set of instructions to try and incorporate all the colors into their diet throughout the day. So, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. All of those different foods bring in different vitamins and minerals and micronutrients into our diet. So eating this way helps you have a more balanced and nutrient dense way of eating and encourages lots of different variety of food, which is good for us. And that's all just in like three simple words: eat the rainbow. So it's really powerful and it packs a punch. It's quite effective. It's also an easy way for parents to encourage their kids to eat more fruits and vegetables because it's a little bit more inviting. Like, let's try something from every color versus like, just eat your fruits and vegetables, which can often be a struggle. We know that kids need several exposures to new foods in order to accept them. And so even if they don't taste them, they can use their other senses to try the rainbow or taste the rainbow. So yeah, that's what we have found is just um, it's just really effective.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lily. And then we'll have one more question for you, Lily, before I ask a few questions to our resident breeders today. What are some of the biggest health benefits to eating those different colors on your plate? You mentioned it's kind of fun. It's kind of a good way to get kids to try new things rather than just say, "Oh, you need to eat your fruits and vegetables." So, what are some of the biggest benefits you're seeing?
Um, well, for one, adding color to your plate really means adding more fruits and vegetables to your plate, which is always a good thing. Um, And like I said earlier, fruits and vegetables contain most of the vitamins and minerals that we need, along with fiber. And they all have relatively few calories, so it's really good for our health. They also contain powerful antioxidants that help protect us from cancers and heart disease, hypertension, or high blood pressure, as well as other diseases. So when you eat lots of different colors, you're really just you're diversifying your diet, which is really great because different foods have different nutrients. Um, and you're also adding in these phytochemicals, which are substances that are in the plant that help protect the plant, but then also have those benefits for our bodies. So when you're eating a lot of variation, uh, it's just much better for your health. So even if you were like just trying to have a variety of, let's say, like one color, let's go with red, and you were eating tomatoes and watermelons and strawberries and bell peppers and red potatoes, you're still just not getting everything that you need. Whereas if you eat a rainbow where you're eating strawberries and butternut squash, bananas, tatsoi, blackberries, eggplant, you're casting a much wider net, and you're just getting more variety of nutrients into your diet.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense, Lily. Thank you so much for giving us some of that background before we kind of dive into some of the breeding sides of it as well. So, Patty and Laura Ann, I actually think this question might be fun to hear an answer from both of you. I figured today we could maybe start with Patty and then move on to Laura Ann afterwards. But keeping in mind this kind of educational push for eating the rainbow, how have you both, as breeders, seen your teams working a little bit more for breeding for color specifically? And like I said, Patty, I'll let you take the first word and we'll hear from Laura Ann afterwards.
Sure. So that there's been a natural progression in both the home gardening markets and the commercial vegetable markets, and then hence into the breeding markets, into both, my company tends to breed more for the home garden market, whereas Laura Ann's tends to breed more for the professional market. There's been a resurgence for color. A perfect example is carrots. I mean, 10 years ago, the only carrot you ever saw in the grocery store was an orange carrot, correct? Now you can walk in there and you can find a white carrot and a purple carrot and a pink carrot and a red carrot. And all of a sudden now you're eating a rainbow of carrots. Each one of those different carrots offers a different nutrient value, where standardly orange carrots were known because of their high carotene level. A purple carrot has a high anthocyane level. A red carrot has a high lycopene level. As you're connecting the colors to the vegetables, you're increasing your daily intake of these very, 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 very good for you antioxidants. Same thing with tomatoes. not even 8 years ago, you would go into the grocery store and you could choose tomatoes, and you get a Roma tomato, you get a round tomato, and you might get a classic kind of looking square round tomato. Now all of a sudden we walk in and we can buy any heirloom tomato color, a purple tomato, a green tomato, a white tomato. All of these have, are very, very, very high in lycopene because tomatoes are. But at the same time, now we're also seeing all these different colors. So breeders are very, very aware. Do you go to the grocery store and pick up a clamshell of, yellow grape tomatoes or red grape tomatoes? I don't. I walk in and I pick up a clamshell that has like 7 different colors in there, striped ones and speckled ones. So us breeders, we are just reacting to what the market wants. The market wants ingenuity. They want something creative. They want something that is different. The information age has pushed us that people want something unique. They want to eat and experience food at home, out of their gardens, in restaurants. So, what we're doing as breeders is just a extension of what our society is almost asking us to do. Does that make sense?
I think that does make sense, Patty. Thank you so much. Laura Ann, I'd love to hear your perspective on it as well. How have you as a breeder at Cicada been working on breeding a little bit more for color?
Yeah, sure. So as Patty mentioned, Cicada focuses more on the professional market compared to the home garden and hobby market. So we're not trying to capture quite the range of diversity as maybe, Patty's group is when breeding for home gardeners, but color is still really important for us. First and foremost, I mean, color is the first thing that a customer or a grower notices about a product. And, it's a way of it conveys all kinds of feelings, right? Like to a grower, deeper color may make them feel like the plant is healthier or has greater adaptability or will do better in the field. And for a consumer, you look at a deeper color and you may notice that, or you may think that, wow, this, the taste of this must be richer than this other piece of fruit that is a bit lighter in color. So I think for us, the range of color isn't necessarily as important as it is the depth of the color and the making sure that we have the right color that meets consumer and grower market expectations. So we tend to focus a lot on visual selection and making sure that what we're selecting to move forward meets the market standard. But we're also using some technologies like colorimeters to measure and select based on like color thresholds. So there's a lot of, finesse and artistic component that goes along with it, as well as like a technological component. But we are, unlike Patty's group, we are focused on kind of those key colors, like beets are still mostly red beets, but we are also exploring, what we call niche markets or niche colors, where you're getting more unique color combinations, which I think it really does appeal to the consumer.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic, Laura Ann. Thank you so much. Continuing kind of on this thought about color, Patty, I know one of the challenges breeders can face is having multiple targets to work towards. And I'm sure in the vegetable market, that is much harder sometimes than, say, for instance, in the corn or soybean market. You've got color, you've got taste, you've got disease resistance, things like that. How do you balance all of these out while keeping in mind some of these eating trends like eating the rainbow?
That's a great question because, of course, you know, it, if anybody's educated on plant breeding and the different steps, most of it is field selection work where you're actually selecting for phenotypes that you feel are expressing what you want to market or what the market is demanding, or your sales team is asking you to do. We have lots of people steering our breeding programs. Does that make sense?
Mhm. It
From
does.
consumers to the sales department to, but one thing that is really, really, really hard and you need to consider and think is a lot of these are gene linked. So like a color could be on a certain genome, and then whereas taste or disease resistance could be on another set. So a tool like, and a lot of breeders are using them, especially in the agronomic world, CRISPR genes where, now we know where all of these different traits are linked, so it actually makes the roadmap a whole lot easier. But for breeding programs like mine, I'm not necessarily taking advantage of those types of technologies. I'm sure Laura Ann can speak a little bit more about them. Mine is just basically population genetics, where we're choosing an oranger tomato, or a cucumber that has a slightly different color on the inside, or a different skin color, and we're looking to something that is more appealing color wise and taste wise, and then just has a basic disease package. I don't know if you're familiar with how disease, because typically disease resistance and disease screening is done via inoculating a whole population of, say, like purple beans, and then depending on what pathogen that you're inoculating for, you're then going to be selecting all the purple beans that are resistant to or tolerant to the pathogen that you have inoculated them for. So, and that's typically done in the greenhouse. It's done in the field too, and then you can and then you grow those plants that have survived the inoculation process.
Perfect. Awesome.
I'm trying to keep it as easy to understand as possible.
No, I think that was very helpful. Thank you so much, Patty. I think we'll have a great question to follow up with Laura Ann as well. Laura Ann, one of the challenges I've heard from some other breeders working towards different colored vegetables is sometimes it can be really hard balancing that new color and taste in a variety. What are some of the ways that you and your team try to overcome those challenges?
I mean, simply we just taste the selections as we're making them to make sure that, just because you're selecting for a certain color, you're not also dragging along like a bad flavor. It's pretty low tech for my groups, at least. It's pretty low tech. I know that, if you're working in certain crops, you may rely on technologies like, mass spec or something like that to measure certain flavor compounds, for instance, like lycopene in tomatoes. So I think some groups are a bit more technical in that way, but in the crops we're breeding in the Pacific Northwest, it's pretty low tech. Um, and often we don't necessarily see a negative link between color and taste. I mean, it's not just because you have a darker color or a certain color doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a bad flavor. And in some cases, like in beets, the lighter colors, the yellows, the whites, the pinks, actually a- are linked to a trait, to where the beets have a lower flavor compound called geosmin, which means they have less of an earthy flavor. So in some instances, selecting for a certain color may mean that you get a different or better flavor that appeals to certain markets. So I don't think it's necessarily cut and dry in the crops that I work with, but definitely like making sure that you're tasting things as you go is a pretty good way to make sure that you're not selecting for something pretty but bad tasting.
Hey, I think that sounds like it makes your job just more fun if you get to do it. I'm sure Patty would agree, because I'm sure she gets to do a little bit of that as well. I actually got in an audience member question for you all today. This might be one that even Lily can participate in as well, but how has consumer preference changed when it comes to thoughts of colors of their food over the years? I'm going to leave this one open to whoever would like to answer it first, but please feel free to take a stab at it.
I'll take a stab at it. I think consumers are interested in new and different colors. White strawberries, purple artichoke. I mean, a lot of these specialty niche markets, or much smaller vegetable markets, were just one that somebody could, only grow in your backyard. Now, all of a sudden, instead of growing it in your garden, you can walk into, your Thursday night or your Saturday morning farmer's market, and you can experience all of these, no pun intended, but a beautiful rainbow of vegetables that you can experience and purchase that wasn't available 10, 15 years ago. It isn't that the germplasm or the varieties weren't available. It was that they weren't, commercially available, or, the market wasn't producing them and available. I think there's a increasing demand for consumers to want to try and experience new, different vegetable colors. Is it tied to nutrition, or is it tied to interest, or is it tied to just, the experience? I don't know, but I know that it's trending.
That's very fair. Thank you so much, Patty. Lily or Laura Ann, do y'all have anything you want to add?
I can add in a little something. As Patty mentioned, I've worked for Cooking with Kids for 6 years, but I started over 10 years ago there. I took a little break in between and went to grad school. But 10 years ago, you couldn't find these things in the grocery store. And it was also quite mind blowing for kids. So like, when they had a purple potato for the first time, they were expecting maybe the skin color to be purple, but not the inside of the potato. Or like different colored eggshells. Occasionally, I'd bring my mother-in-law had chickens, so occasionally I'd bring in chicken eggs that were a lot of different colors on the shell. So I think that novel experience is it can be meaningful for kids, and it can also open their minds up to try something different, because it might taste different. So maybe if they don't like the orange carrot, maybe they'll like the red carrot. So I think that is also sort of some of the powerful like language around Eat the Rainbow.
Yeah, that's very fair, Lily. I think it's still sometimes a novel experience for me to be able to try some different colored foods as well. I know I got really excited in late January when I got to try one of the new GMO purple tomatoes, because I thought it was such a cool tomato, and I never had seen one that was that purple before. Lily, maybe another question for you that I think would be fun. What are some ways that Cooking with Kids is working to keep the dialogue open about eating the rainbow? Like, how are y'all working on continuing that discussion with students and their families?
Yeah. So usually at the very beginning of the year, we have a unit that is kind of focused on for kind of focused on this idea of eating a rainbow or eating variety and trying new things. And so that starts at the beginning of the year, and we have just really open dialogue with students. We also we invite parents into the classroom. So any parents that arrive, they're also part of that communication. And then in addition to that, we send home newsletters, and we also have in our lesson plans, students get like a whole packet of materials that have like nutrition facts about one of the plants that we learned about, and a coloring sheet and maps and all sorts of things like that. So that can go home with students as well. And then it's, you know, we do a lot of this communication with teachers and principals, and we have things posted on our social media. So kids and parents are hearing this messaging year after year from pre-K through 8th grade. We've primarily focused on just getting them to try new things, and that trying new things, you know, is brave. And you know, just we have, you know, we try and think about foods that are different colors of the rainbow. So having kids come up with maybe things that they've tried, or showing things by what we purchase in the classroom. And then other things like it's just super integrated into what we do. So like just this last week, we sent out a end of the year newsletter, and it's about like how to make your own infused water. And we have like a little box that has a list of different ingredients that you could add to your water. And just because of the way that we think, like it's not like we're saying eat the rainbow, but we're putting out there lots of different options by including lots of different colors in that way as well. And we also, when we talk about this with kids, we have to remind them that it has to be foods that grow when we're talking about different colors. It can't be like Skittles and Cheetos. So yeah, I would say that's sort of how we're trying to keep it open and have that space for people to talk about it.
Yeah, very fair, Lily. I think that's a great comment to make, because I think I made the joke in my preview article that we weren't talking about eating the rainbow in terms of Skittles, even though I think that's probably what a lot of people think of. We are running a little bit low on time, but I'm hoping to sneak in at least one more question for Laura Ann. Laura Ann, I know we talked about some different breeding targets that breeders are having to balance while looking into color as well. We talked about like disease tolerance, yield, etc. Is color becoming a more important breeding target for you and your team at Cicada, or do things like the yield, the disease resistance, etc., still come kind of first and foremost?
Yeah, color's definitely becoming more important. And I honestly think color has been important in our breeding programs for a long time because, as I mentioned earlier, there are market standards and consumer standards for color that we have to meet. So it's crucial that we consider color whenever we're breeding. But on the other hand, you know, it's equally important that we're creating a product that the grower can actually grow with some reliability. So I think the key is to make sure that you're hitting those disease resistance targets, adaptability, yield targets that the grower needs, while also making sure that your product aligns with customer standards. Because you know it's a funny balance in vegetables, I think, because you can produce, you know, a product with amazing resistance and a grower or a dealer will look at it and they'll say, absolutely not, the color's wrong. So it's, yeah, they're both important. I wouldn't say that one necessarily trumps the other, but definitely you need to have the looks because that's a lot of what the acceptance for new vegetables is based on. But then the grower also has to be able to produce it. So both are, you know, really important in the breeding process for sure.
No, I think that is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Laura Ann, because you're right. I think looks definitely do play a part, especially in the realm of vegetables. I had a couple of more questions I wanted to get to today, but that is unfortunately all the time we have for today, everyone. So thank you so much, Patty, Laura Ann, and Lily, for joining us. I know I've learned a lot about breeding. I've learned a lot about color in vegetables and the history behind it. And I've learned a lot about the kind of nutritional balance of why we want to eat more colors on our plates. But hopefully everyone in our audience was able to take home some fun knowledge today as well. And if you liked this topic, make sure to tune in next week. We're going to have another fun food-related topic with my coworker, Mark Sinkowitz, who's going to be tackling all the uses of mustard. It might be one of the condiments you think of, but it's also a plant that you could think of. So we will look forward to that, and we'll see you all then. Thanks, everyone, for watching.